Okay, so whoops. That was my bad. That was bound to happen. All right, so the New York Times increasingly is jumping out in front of the parade being the imminent defeat of Ukraine. They want to be able to say they reported it first. Russia regains upper hand in Ukraine's east as Kiev's troops struggle. So to the person who was obsessed with Keaton's use of the term stalemate, we apologize. Ukrainians are weary, short of ammunition, and outnumbered, and their prospects look bleak. We can stop them for now, but who knows, one soldier said. Tomorrow or the next day, maybe we can't stop them.
Okay, the answer is definitely. And
it's like a zombie movie. Ukraine's military prospects are looking bleak. Western military aid is no longer assured at the same levels as years past. And now Russian troops are on the attack, especially in the country's east. The town of Marinka has all but fallen. Avdiivka, the best I'm going to do with that, is being slowly encircled. A push on Chasev Yar near Bakhmut is expected. Farther north, outside Kupiansk, the fighting has barely slowed since the fall. The joke,
maybe we need a war on U.S. soil just so these town names will be easier to pronounce, you know? Jacksonville fell this morning. That's easy, you know?
Between Yemen, Gaza, and Ukraine, we're just all making fools out of ourselves.
They should start exporting consonants from their town words. They've got a surplus of consonants in all of their
That's like the old Steve Martin joke. When you take hostages, make one crazy demand. You demand the letter M be stricken from the English language. The joke among
you... Houthis took Delray Beach today. Yeah. Expected to reach Fort Myers by the end of the week. See, that's easy. You can report that.
The joke among Ukrainian troops goes like this. The Russian army is not good or bad. It is just long.
What?
Yeah, you know who else made that joke? Napoleon. Right before he lost 90% of his troops fucking with those people. The Kremlin has more of everything. Oh, does it? A country with triple the population. Well, maybe if as a lot of people were saying 2 fucking years ago.
Maybe if we got him some F-16s faster, Russ.
Yeah, that well, actually, I didn't really, because it's a long article. The Times does try to throw a little bone to people who think that way. Like here and there in the article, it's like, they quote Russian soldiers saying, if the West had acted faster, yeah, that would have solved it.
Sean Penn, I want to see Sean Penn come out again because I haven't seen him since his.
I want to see him in a flak jacket. You believe in it so much, go fight, man. Fucking older than a lot of the poor bastards getting dragged out to the front lines now. The Kremlin has
still pretty ripped from what I
see. He's pretty ripped. He's got one of those personal trainers.
They're putting women in now.
The Kremlin has more of everything. More men, ammunition, and vehicles. And they're not stopping despite their mounting numbers of wounded and dead. It's almost like they're fighting this the way the Russians have always fought their wars. Who would have seen that coming?
Ukraine's not stopping.
We're getting there. It's actually darkly funny. For now, Ukraine is in a perilous position. The problems afflicting its military have been exacerbated since the summer. Ukrainian soldiers are exhausted by long stretches of combat and shorter rest periods. The ranks, thinned by mounting casualties, are only being partly replenished, often with older and poorly trained recruits. One Ukrainian soldier, part of a brigade tasked with holding the line southwest of, you're going to make me say that again? Avdiivka, pointed to a video he took during training recently. The instructors, trying to stifle their laughs, were forced to hold up the man, who was in his mid-50s, just so he could fire his rifle. The man was crippled from alcoholism, said the soldier, insisting on anonymity to candidly describe a private training episode. Quote, 3 out of 10 soldiers who show up are no better than drunks who fell asleep and woke up in uniform, he said, referring to the new recruits who arrive at his brigade. While Ukrainian casualties remain a closely guarded secret, U.S. officials over the summer estimated deaths and injuries to be well over 150,000. Russian forces have also taken huge numbers of casualties, according to those officials, but the Kremlin's forces still managed to repel a concerted Ukrainian counteroffensive, regroup, and are now assaulting in frigid winter conditions.
So it's 500,000, by the way, at least, of Ukrainian casualties. Well over.
Well, there's I think we did an article last week. I think the average age of soldiers now on the front line is 42.
43.
43?
Yeah. That's not sad when the guys are sad with the singer.
I mean, it's over. It doesn't matter what you give them. You give them as much ammunition as you want. People have to use it.
Why don't they have immigration to help them? Why don't they welcome immigrants there? I'm sure they would love a massive influx.
Well, that could kill two birds with one stone, so to speak.
Well, I imagine they weren't too keen on that back in the day.
No, you see, when you're a populist, and I would say this is true whether you're populist left, populist right, you wind up having a Cassandra syndrome. Meaning, you're always very frustrated that you see the future and you're not being listened to. And it happens again and again. You're always 2 years out from the conventional wisdom. And it's not that you have to be a genius. It's that you don't have any vested interest in slaughtering a country. You're not making any money off it. So you're just able to see very clearly. Russia, long history of fighting to the bitter end. Population triple the size of the Ukrainian population. They really can't afford to give up. The idea of them retreating without victory is extremely unlikely. So in a war of attrition, which is going to be what it will end up with, how can they lose? They cannot lose.
Well, maybe if we supported them more and allowed them to censor us here at home.
Well, when you are a populist, as you'd say, you don't go through the same kind of conditioning that the PMC types go through. Nick Cruz was talking about this a bit earlier when you had him on. He said, I'm a college dropout. I could tell that Ukraine was an idiotic war to be fighting. Why were all these people with master's degrees and PhDs saying that not only was this a worthwhile fight, but that it was a winnable fight for Ukraine? When
they went to school for that.
It was just as obvious as they don't be. Think. I mean, Russell, you were talking about, you know about the history of Russia and how they fight. I mean, they burned down their own capital to keep Napoleon's army from conquering it, basically. But even if you don't know that, I mean, it's as basic as looking at a map. You can see, okay, Russia's this big, Ukraine's this big. I mean, there's no way to win.
Okay. Yes, you do not have to be an armchair military historian to figure that out.
Absolutely. Right. I mean, there's no way for Ukraine to win that war absent an expanding war. I mean, World War III, now you're talking about.
You would need other countries to come in.
But we also know enough to know we don't want that, right? And so that's all it took to see this coming. And you're right. I mean, it is darkly comic. I mean, that line about how you got these guys showing up like
little better than drunks that fell asleep and woke up in uniform.
Oh my God.
Little better than drunks that sleep. Yeah. I mean,
they do. I think they do actually think about it quite a lot, because that's what all that schooling is for you to think up new ways to justify that, like make people forget about the last thing.
That's the whole goal.
Is I read it in the Atlantic. I can't remember what story we were doing. I looked up some story in the Atlantic about, is it really bad to be a hypocrite? Because there's such hypocrites now. And it was all about but is hypocrisy really even? That's kind of like a lower class. I couldn't believe what I was reading.
Right.
So it took two people to write this. That's what you learn. You learn how to rationalize the inexcusable, how to defend the indefensible, how to twist the truth to fit not only a certain narrative, but a certain ethos, so that you pass that on to the next generation of worthy meritocratic do-gooders, right? And it goes on and on and on until there's nothing left because you pushed it too far, and that's what these times kind of feel like we're on the eve of that.
Well, Mark Twain said, "I got educated once. It took me years to recover."
Right. Yep.
All right, Misha, to you.
Okay, Kurt. Worst skill is wondering if you have any good Patrice O'Neill stories that won't get Jimmy demonetized.
I mean, yeah, probably, but about what? I'll tell you a Shatner thing. I forgot. He did my joke at the Sheen roast. He did a couple of my jokes, and his joke about Charlie Sheen was, he goes, "Hey, Charlie, I know another guy who was kind to whores and always hung out with 12 losers. And the Jews crucified him too." Shatner said it was great.
You did. That was a roast for who?
Charlie Sheen.
Oh, you did that?
Yeah.
Good.
Oh, that's fun.
That was your joke. Wow, that's a good joke. Yeah.
Radical leftist extremist said CJ is also in LA. Would love to see him in the studio. Well, thank you for that information. Barky, Shatner's Captain Kirk was easily the best Star Trek captain. The best Commodore was Commodore Decker, who kamikazed a shuttlecraft into the Doomsday Machine.
Stephen Collins, we all know what became of him. The dad from Seventh Heaven, that's who he's talking about.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It turned out he was the worst captain.
Unvaccinated guy, I can't read that one, unvaccinated guy. Like Smasher, Vivek wants to end Big Pharma immunity for harm from the let's come together on common issues. Thank you, Like Smasher, and back to Russ.
Hey, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there for more AM Joy and the rest of MSNBC. And click on any of the videos right here to watch the latest interviews and highlights. And you can get more videos from MSNBC for free every day with our newsletter. Just visit